Good evening, everyone. So, tonight I wanted to have this discussion. I usually don't really put anyone in my title of my videos to talk about them in any sort of a manner. I may mention them by way when I'm doing a particular video, just for examples and referencing, but never just in the title of my video. And this video is not to attack Kwame Brown in any way. It really isn't. But is more so a message or information to let him know he's truly off code. Now, some people may still take that as an attack or somewhat, but hey, that's your perception of how you look at things. But I wanted to set tonight premise. When I first heard Kwame Brown speak about Breonna Taylor and essentially blamed her and her boyfriend for her death. So let's look at that very quickly because I want to jump right into the video and I don't want to stay here too long. It says here, ladies and gentlemen, the former Washington Wizards guard surprisingly blamed Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend Kenneth Walker for her death after Walker had fired shots at the officer, believing that they were attackers breaking into their Kentucky home. Now, there be many of cases around the U.S. about this particular situation where black men and women have fired back at the police, not knowing that they were the police. So this is not new news to anyone. But noticing what the brother said, I decided not to comment at all. I just let that particular thing ride because when he started coming out, he started speaking about racism and some sorts of white supremacy and about how, the league truly is, talking about Stephen A. and all these other, entertainment or athlete that are stars or well known. So I said, I'll let that ride. But now we're talking about a particular case that I think that he didn't truly dive into. Like he said, he gave his opinion. And an opinion to anyone can't be right or wrong. That's the way he looks at it. And I totally understand that. But this is not to attack Kwame Brown. What this is to say that your opinion, sir, have so many ramifications of what the words you say on your platform because you have so many people watching you. And you use the terminology, the go along, get along gang. Well, let me tell you, you have a go along, get along gang, as I am. I used to be a subscriber of yours, believe it or not, when you was somewhat that I could indicate were on code. But then you started defending Candace Owens. And so 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strikes, you're out. But I didn't need that many to understand where your stance is and how you think about things. Okay, there's a certain things you don't say and there's certain things that you don't do. So again, this is not to attack Tommy Brown, but this is to let you know the indicators. If someone's trying to be B1, if somebody's trying to be on code with the black community, some of the things you say will lead them astray. It absolutely will. And that's the problem we have in our community, where we start speaking about things that we don't have the information on. We don't have the intellect to dissect and decipher the information that's put in front of us and did not connect the dots of what is white supremacy. What is white supremacy? And then the system that we speak of, can you see it or is it invisible? This is one of the things that we should really think about. Now, we all know white supremacy exists in some form of a matter, but when you don't see things so clearly, when they put them in front of your face and say, hey, this is white supremacy and this is how we go about exercise our power, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. Good evening, Jermaine Anderson. Thank you for joining me in this. And guys, this is not a normal video of mine. I don't go on anyone in the melanated community. That's not how I operate. But again, the brother is influential because he said some things on code mixed with his own rhetoric, but he needs to understand that his opinion and telling his people is very, very powerful. Because people in the new black media, I'm not really considering myself in the new black media, but I do some things in that realm. But the point I'm making here is that we're trying to make our people aware of how white supremacy operates. A lot of our people, unfortunately, are unaware how white supremacy operates, so they need to be informed. They need to be educated, and you are reversing the education. That's what you're doing. So again, he said that this was his opinion. So just for Context here. Opinion, a view of judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. Okay? It's not based on fact and knowledge. That's your opinion about something. It's not based on fact of knowledge. So I understand. But see, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. When you are a public figure, somewhat in the same source of Kwame Brown, and then you started speaking out about certain issues that people sought to agree on you, now you are an influencer. That means you influence people to think a certain way and do a certain thing. The very same thing you said about the go along, get along gang. Your majority of your followers, from what I can tell, in my opinion, are the go along, get along gang. Now, with that said, on the Kyle Rittenhouse issue, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because I think a lot of issues saying that Kyle Rittenhouse won the case and was in self-defense, in my opinion, Kwame Brown, it was absolutely false. You're absolutely wrong, because this is when you don't have your uncode glasses where you can see white supremacy that smacks you right in your face. So I'm not going to do too much talking. I'm going to show a couple of videos for context, and then we'll come back and we'll look at this thing together, because this is very important to cover. So here's a video of someone filming Kyle Rittenhouse running through the streets after he has already threatened someone with a gun, and I'll pretty much play it from there. Let's see. Fair use, fair use. Those are gunshots. Okay, I'll stop it right there. So we understand that what occurred here is that Kyle Rittenhouse was running down the streets, running away from another incident where he was aiming his gun, pretending to be an EMT. Now, the guy at the time was only 17. He's 18. He has no former medical training at all. Okay, so let's just point that out. That's the truth. We ain't worried about facts. Facts is based upon how many people agree. That's a fact, but this is the truth. So in this incident here, Kyle Rittenhouse starts to run down the street, and a guy who witnessed the situation, he starts to say, "Hey, stop that guy! That guy, was shooting at someone." He actually said the word "shoot." Let me go back, and I want you to hear the words in the background very quickly, just to build context. Listen very carefully. All right. I don't know if you guys picked that up. Someone said, "Get that dude. He shot at somebody." That's what the guy in the background said. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but here's my point. Once Kyle Rittenhouse was, quote unquote, defending himself, what it seems to be, as these guys are trying to knock him down and probably take custody of him, he started to defend himself, right? Because he's already was in a prior altercation. And the guy who was running down the street say, "Hey, get that guy. He shot at somebody." These guys was trying to, get him down and possibly do a, what they call a civil arrest. So if we just dissect this part of it, we don't get how white supremacy plays a role. But now let's start to tie other things into this particular situation. Okay. So I got something else for you here. Now, this is Kyle Rittenhouse on the stand. Now, if you notice, as he was running down the street, did anyone see that he was frantic or primarily scared. He looked like that he, pretty much he pretty much killed the threat. All right, but let's look at this very quickly.
And I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were people right there.
Take a deep breath, pal. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That's like the fakest thing when they start talking about this particular thing, and he just conjured up a whole sobbing cry for some reason. But anyway, basically he was talking about the incident of him running down the street and that people were trying to chase him and attack him. Question: if you're out there with your AR and medical equipment beyond the protesters of Kenosha, of a gentleman, was it a year ago, getting shot and killed by the police, then why are they chasing you? Why are you chasing you? See, so we have to bring context to these things, because some people, like Kwame Brown, speaks about his opinion, not knowing how influential it is, but not understand all of the facts of the particular case. I don't think he really looked at that. Yeah. I don't think he looked at that. I think he spoke probably a little bit too soon. So let's look at this from a different perspective. Let me show you this as well.
In Vernon Hills tonight, charged with 2 counts of intentional homicide, 1 count of attempted intentional homicide, along with several weapons violations. Reporter Richie McGinnis interviewed the Antioch teen that night. McGinnis was interviewed by police because he also witnessed one of the shootings.
People are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is
right there, family. He said it was his job to protect the business. Now, I don't know if you guys saw some of his video when he was on trial, and the prosecutor was asking him. So he said, you were hired by a particular person to protect the business. At the end, the answer is no. No one ever hired Kyle Rittenhouse to protect their business. A 17-year-old who is not legally to carry an AR-15. Now, don't forget, Kyle Rittenhouse is from Antioch, Illinois, which he traveled, I think, roughly about 20 miles to Kenosha, Wisconsin. But yeah, self-defense, right, Kwame Brown? Not at all, my brother. Not at all. So here's the thing. He said that he was there to protect businesses. Now, the particular business that he was in somewhat or so-called protecting, he said that the car shop owners denied asking Rittenhouse armed men to protect their property during unrest, during the protests. So that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. And see, fellas, see, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't know this information, then we're going to just go along and get along and agree with people like Kwame Brown, because some of the talking points prior to his Breonna Taylor comments, as well as this comment on the Kyle Rittenhouse case, you thought he was B1. You thought he was for the well-being and uplifting and empowerment of melanated Black people. See, that's what you thought. But let's see what the brother has to say, because maybe you guys didn't hear some of the things he was saying about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. So let's look at that, and then we'll come back and we'll do some coordinating analysis and how we'll compare and contrast on what he said and what is actually the truth, what is actually the reality.
Opinion, Brian Sutton. That's the thing. We are different people. You don't have to tell another person that they're wrong. And my opinion is not a right or a wrong, okay? My opinion is this young man defended himself. Your opinion is something different. In a civilized nation, we both can have our own opinions, correct? And without you telling me that I'm wrong, you hold no authority over me, sir. So what makes you wrong is that you're trying to tell a grown-ass man when he's right and when he's wrong. And that
right there. That's why I started off the video like I did. I don't want to tell Kwame Brown that he's right or wrong. He is right. That is his opinion. But what he needs to understand that he has built a platform and that he's an influencer. And if he was ever on code, he is definitely off code. See, here's the thing. I understand that Black people in America or the UK or wherever you are, we're not a monolith. We have all different tribes and cultures and sections and groups. I understand that. But there's a large portion of us, and you know who you are, that you put your melanation first. And you're trying to fight and combat the system of white supremacy, racism, and discrimination. And that's what you thought for Kwame Brown. But what we're beginning to understand is a lot of people that we don't vet, a lot of people we don't investigate somewhat, and we just kind of getting on a bandwagon because they sound good for a particular time. Then who the fool? We the fool. Now, here's some other things. Now I want to go back because I'm building here of how Kyle Rittenhouse actually prior to 2 weeks prior to him killing 2 people and wounding 1, he actually said he dreamed about shooting the people with his AR-15 that he obtained illegally. Let's look at this.
It looks like one of them has a weapon. She hung up.
That's Kyle Rittenhouse talking.
Bro, I wish I had my money, all right? Start shooting rounds at them.
Let me rewind that.
All right, start shooting. Bro, I wish I had my money, all right? Start shooting rounds at them.
He said he wished he had his effing AR so he can start shooting rounds at them. This is 2 weeks prior of him going out and killing 2 people and wounding 1. Okay. So now that we that's premeditated murder in a sense, right? And I'm no lawyer, have no law degree, but sounds like premeditated murder. Like, man, I wish I had my gun. I'll shoot at all of them. Now, shooting someone we know has a high probability of killing them. So we're just going to say, hey, I'll shoot and kill all of them, essentially, right? Compare and contrast. So let's talk about the gun. The gun, his friend, Dominic Black, testifies he bought the gun used in Kenosha shootings because Kyle Rittenhouse was not old enough to purchase a legal firearm, but his friend Dominic Black was. That's what you call a straw man purchase, a front man purchase. That's what we need to understand, family. So as we're breaking this down, there are some other lies I want to point out here. He said that he was there to protect businesses. He said that he was there as an EMT. So one, Kyle Rittenhouse is not an EMT. He has no formal or legal training that lands him as an EMT or any sort of emergency medical technician at all. Let's look at it.
There's somebody hurt. I'm running into harm's way.
Independent journalist
I'm running in harm's way.
Interviewed Kyle Rittenhouse the night
Fair
police
use,
say the
fair use.
17-year-old Antioch teen killed 2 people in Kenosha.
I don't know exactly what his motivations were. He did tell me that he was there to protect the peace and to provide medical attention.
Are you from the area?
I am from the area.
He just said that he was from the area. He is from Antioch, Illinois, and he was in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
What brought you out here tonight? You just wanted to provide medical attention?
Provide medical attention to people that need it.
Now, I'm not saying no one never informally trained Kyle Rittenhouse, but he said he's there to provide medical attention, but there's nothing on the records that we can see or know and prove that he actually has any sort of medical knowledge other than a first aid kit with Band-Aids, gauze, and maybe some antiseptic. So I'm breaking this down for Kwame Brown or anyone who wants to understand how white supremacy operates, because maybe he doesn't understand, because he's definitely off code.
Somebody's injured, like you get hurt, I'm grabbing you.
McGinnis is a witness cited in the criminal complaint filed by prosecutors in Kenosha County today.
The way that he was describing what his role was seemed very detached from the way that he was being perceived. And so that's what I mean when I say he seemed very naive.
Does anybody need
Rittenhouse
medical?
is heard on McGinnis's video saying medical as he walked through the crowd. Tonight, the Wisconsin lieutenant governor reacted to the charges and why Rittenhouse was even in Kenosha.
These armed men who have no connection to even this state, the guys from out town. So think about how ridiculous that is. Who is he accountable to? Nobody. And for him to be able to shoot somebody and still walk away from the scene. I mean, you know, they talked about finding a knife inside of the car, not even on Jacob Blake's person. This guy's carrying a long gun, kill somebody, just walking freely, was able to get back.
That's called white supremacy.
Then, you know, we got a much bigger problem on our hands.
That's called white supremacy. That's all that is, brother. So he need to get with it as well. That's called white supremacy. See, about the case that he was actually there providing medical attention to protesters about a protest he was absolutely against. And 2 weeks prior to that particular protest, him and another buddy recording themselves said, I wish I had my effing AR so I can shoot rounds at them. And now you are amongst the same protesters that you essentially wanted to shoot, providing medical attention with an illegal firearm a state away from where you live. See, your opinion, you can't scapegoat your opinion, Kwame Brown. You cannot, because you know how powerful your platform is. You know how powerful your opinion is. Now, in my opinion, you have gained a lot of flunkies, a lot of fools that's following you and hanging on every word and every thought that you say. So let's just take, for instance, 50% of your followers are like that. That's 200,000 people. And then when you look at those 200,000 people, how many people will they eventually influence? We're trying to teach people how to recognize white supremacy, and you're trying to have them to accept white supremacy because there was no black people involved. But the protest was about a black man with black people and some other people who are, quote unquote, I hate to say it, but maybe, not a doubt, some of them probably were allies of a lighter skin tone. So we're not even setting the freaking premise of why he was there at that particular protest of the wrongful killing of a black man by the police that didn't even have a gun. See, this is where we are, family, where people can build platforms on their fame and popularity, and people hang on to every word that they say. And that's why those people went over to Africa with Jim Jones, and he all made them drink cyanide. This is the death of our people. When you start pointing out, you start getting those indicators of someone off code, then they're freaking off code. That's the issues we have tonight. This is white supremacy. Kyle Rittenhouse acquitted on all charges for shooting and killing 2 in Kenosha protests last year. Here's the reveal. If that was a black person, if that was a black young man at the age of 17, and he went from Antioch, Illinois, to Kenosha, Washington, across state lines with the illegal AR-15, with no medical knowledge, with no businesses reaching out to him to protect their business of a minor holding an illegal firearm, do you believe he would have got acquitted on all charges of self-defense, even though we have the video and verbal footage of him stating 2 weeks prior that he had his AR, that he would shoot rounds at them? Do you believe that black young man would have got acquitted on our charges? And I know your answer is no. That's white supremacy, Kwame Brown. When you put your family and the people that look like you in the same court case, and your answer is no, then that's white supremacy. If you believe that we would have got off, if one of our young men would have got off, then you are an absolute fool. This is a problem that people point out in our community. Very, very powerful and truthful speakers like a Professor Black Truth, or even Jason Black with the Black Authority, or even a Tariq Nasheed. See, I'm not part of the go along, get along name with Philip Scott and all these other guys who are the new black media. No, I come and just give commentary every once in a while about things that I'm actually thinking about. And hopefully will help somebody along the way to get clarity. So hoping I'm giving some of your followers clarity and transparency of white supremacy. Just because no black people were involved does not mean it's not white supremacy. What is the premise? He showed up in a city, in a state that is not his own. Number two, 2 weeks prior, he's been recording while he was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, of shooting people who were protesting and looting a store. He said, I would shoot rounds at them. Number three, he shows up in Wisconsin across state lines, underage, with an illegal firearm, an AR-15, saying that he is an EMT. So you're telling me that a black melanated young man, lie after lie after lie after lie after shooting, even if they were 2 black people, 3 black people, even if he was shooting 3 black people, I'm not saying that the guy is black and he's shooting white people. No, I'm saying that the guy is black and he's shooting black people. Do you believe he will still get off in Kenosha, Wisconsin? And then all the antics, I won't even get on the judge. That's just too easy. See, that is what you call white supremacy on code. And when we have people say that this had nothing to do with black people, it had everything to do with black people. Because what this is showing you that we control equality, we control justice, we control punishments, we control rewards. Now, some people may seem to think that Kyle Rittenhouse got rewarded for shooting 2 Caucasian males and killing them because they were off code. That's some of the narratives that are out there. But I don't need to stay here too long. Kwame Brown, you're off code, brother. I know we're not a monolith, but there is a reveal that's trying to go on. And we're trying to teach and show our people that white supremacy forms and operates in all aspects of life. So, I mean, socially, psychologically, physically, economically, religiously, white supremacy operates. And so when things of a weird, this was kind of cut and dry, though. This was cut and dry white supremacy. This was very, very easy to point out. Because the first thing I said, well, if that was a black young man with killing 2 black people, he still would have went to jail. He wouldn't have got acquitted on all charges. That's what not would have happened. This is not even me being intelligent. This is kind of this cut and dry. So Kwame Brown, you're off code. You've been off code since Breonna Taylor. I don't know what's going on, brother, but don't forget your opinion matters. You have a very powerful platform that you've built for yourself. I'm not hating at all, brother, but I can tell you this. When you're off code, somebody got to tell you. And I'm pretty sure there are going to be some other people, and I know you're not going to really care because that's your mentality. You're not going to really care. But there are going to be some other people that come out and tell you that you're off code, especially with the Candace Owens comments and the Breonna Taylor comments and now the Kyle Rittenhouse opinion. I ain't here to beat you up, brother. I'm just here to give you some insight, some clarity. Whether you agree or you disagree. You guys have a great, wonderful evening. I'm out.